Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the Noon News from Montana's news leader.
Good afternoon, and thanks so much for tuning in today. I'm Aja Goare. A Gallatin County man is in custody after he reportedly threatened to shoot up the state capitol. That suspect, whose name was not released, was sent to the state hospital at Warm Springs. Authorities learned about the threat Tuesday around noon. Additional officers were stationed at the Capitol building Wednesday. The Montana Highway Patrol then stopped a vehicle near Spokane Creek Road and Highway 12 East and took that 40-year-old man into custody. Law enforcement did not say whether the man was armed. MHP turned the man over to the state hospital for an evaluation. It's unclear whether he will face charges. The man shot and killed in Polson on Tuesday is now identified. The Lake County Sheriff's Office identified the victim as 49-year-old Leonard L. Peak Jr. of Arlee. The alleged shooter was taken into custody but released after questioning. No charges have been filed. MTN's Eric Clements has more from the scene.
The call came in just after 3:30 p.m. Wednesday afternoon, a violent altercation in Arlee. When law enforcement arrived to the scene, Lake County Sheriff Don Bell says they discovered one man had been fatally shot. The suspect detained. Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribal Police were first on the scene, followed shortly by Lake County Sheriff deputies. Tribal Fish and Game wardens were also on scene, helping divert traffic.
We first want to get here and make sure everybody is safe, and then we secure the scene and then make sure we have everybody that we need to talk to in custody.
That includes the suspect, a male, and 3 witnesses. The witnesses were shuttled to the Lake County Courthouse for questioning. The shooting took place on Sanders Street, just a block from Arlee High School. Because law enforcement was able to apprehend the suspected gunman quickly, Bell says students and school faculty were not in any danger.
We were in contact with the school, letting them know that we had people in custody right away, so they didn't have to do a lockdown. So it's really about keeping the community safe.
Eric Clements, MTN News, Arlee.
Thank you, Eric. And the investigation is ongoing. Law enforcement says the community is safe. Gallatin County authorities are looking for a pair of boots, gloves, and a pistol that may be tied to the murder in Belgrade. According to charging documents filed against Joseph DeWeiss, police found footprints at the crime scene in Belgrade, as well as DeWeiss's home in Bozeman. Police believe DeWeiss purchased a new pair of boots at Walmart, which matched the prints left at the murder scene. Police said in a press release 2 pairs of gloves, a Garmin GPS unit, and a pistol are also missing. DeWeiss is accused of killing his estranged wife and shooting another woman earlier this month. Police will not confirm whether the missing evidence is related to the murder. A Yellowstone County jury says the actions taken by Billings police officers in the shooting death of a man last May were justified. Jurors learned Wednesday that 30-year-old Ryan Lowell was highly intoxicated and suicidal during the standoff. An autopsy revealed Lowell was shot a total of 7 times. Lowell sent disturbing photos of himself with a gun to his ex-girlfriend earlier that morning. Officers later found him atop the rims. A negotiator worked for about an hour to get Lowell to drop his weapon. Lowell told the officer he was heartbroken over a recent breakup. Officers thought at one point Lowell might drop his weapon, but instead Lowell advanced on them and fired off a single shot before he was gunned down by officers. Montana legislator turned drug dealer Michael Lang will spend a lengthy amount of time in federal prison for trafficking methamphetamine in Billings. 57-year-old Lang was sentenced in U.S. District Court in Billings this morning to 18 years in prison for 2 felony drug charges. Lang served 3 terms as a Montana legislator and even served as Republican House Majority Leader before he was ousted in 2007. Prosecutors say Lang managed the distribution of more than 20 pounds of meth from Mexico to Billings. Today, Lang minimized his role, saying he was misguided by a friend and never intended to be so involved. A former Capitol High School teacher is accused of raping a teenage boy. A complaint filed in Lewis and Clark County District Court on Tuesday alleges Renee Carter had repeated sexual contact with a teenage boy. By law, the victim is not old enough to give consent. The superintendent confirms that the victim was enrolled at the school when the offense occurred in 2015. School leaders tell us the district did conduct its own investigation at that time, but did not find evidence to support claims of sexual misconduct. Carter faces 1 count of rape. In other news, 14 Montana children who were previously reported to Child and Family Services died in 2017. The Child Fatality Review Board found 10 of the 14 deaths involved children 1 year old or younger. 4 deaths were ruled accidental. 3 of those involved co-sleeping and drug use by the mother. 5 were homicides. 2 involved medical complications for the child, but both of those included drug use by the mother. 1 fatality was confirmed as a suicide and 2 others are unknown at this time. The report also notes that many of these cases had combinations of prior history with domestic violence and housing or financial instability. Also noted, almost half the cases included parents who had a history with Child and Family Services when they were children. Attorney General Tim Fox says the state can and must do better. We turn now to the weather scene with Ed McIntosh, and things are changing on the weather scene.
They sure are. In fact, we're a lot warmer today, Aja, than we were 24 hours ago across the state. Now, the numbers show you how much warmer we are today than we were at noon yesterday, and that ranges anywhere from a few degrees. Sheridan, one of the only places where it's a little colder, all the way up to 20 degrees warmer in Butte right now than at noon yesterday. And Cody, Wyoming is 28 degrees warmer. Also, there's a lot more humidity. As the dew point goes up, more available moisture, and we could be tapping into that tonight in the form of rain and snow showers. We're already seeing some of the western portion of the state, and strong wind gusts, seeing plenty of those as well. Livingston, wind gusts to nearly 60 miles per hour. More details on the forecast coming up.
Thanks, Ed. We'll check back in. Congress has less than 48 hours to pass a new spending bill, or the government will shut down beginning at midnight on Friday. CBS's Aja Goare has more on the holdup.
GOP House leaders wanted to vote on a short-term spending deal today that would keep the government open until February and would include a 6-year reauthorization of the Children's Health Insurance Program. Conservative support was already wavering. Then President Trump tweeted this morning that CHIP should be part of a long-term solution, not a 30-day or short-term extension.
If the country shuts down, which could very well be, the budget should be handled a lot differently than it's been handled over the last long period of time, many years.
It's the latest example of confusing White House statements that are frustrating Republicans.
I don't know whether it's clear to the president what we're trying to do is reauthorize CHIP long term and not just for 30 days.
Democrats are insisting on a deal to fix DACA, the program that allows undocumented immigrants brought to America as children to live and work here. But the president has rejected 2 previous bipartisan deals struck in the House and the Senate.
What they want in return is continuously a moving target, and it continuously expands.
President Trump insists his conditions have not changed. He says he will agree to a DACA deal in exchange for money to build a wall along the Mexican border.
The president is demanding $18 billion for the project. This morning, he tweeted, "If there is no wall, there is no deal." Aja Goare, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Haiti denounced the president's alleged comment and called in the top U.S. diplomat in Haiti to try to explain their meaning. Montana Democrats are bringing in a big name for their annual fundraising dinner held each election year in March. Former Vice President Joe Biden will be the keynote speaker at the Democrats' Mansfield-Metcalf dinner on March 10th. The dinner, a major fundraiser for the party, is attended by hundreds of Democrats from across the state. Biden is a former U.S. Senator from Delaware and served as vice president under President Barack Obama. He formed a political action committee last year and has been mentioned as a possible presidential candidate in 2020, although he'll be 77 years old entering the election year. Still ahead on the noon news, neighbors of the California couple accused of holding their children captive speak out. We'll tell you what they said next. But first, Ed has our weather forecast. Stay with us.
You're watching MTN News with Aja Goare, Storm Tracker weather with Ed McIntosh, and farm and ranch news from the Northern Egg Network. This is the noon